You bought your EV with a 300-mile range. A year later, it's showing 260. You blame the battery, but the battery isn't always the problem. Your daily habits are quietly doing the damage, and most EV owners never make the connection. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 5 habits are costing you range and what to do about each one. Let's get into it. Here's what most people get wrong about EV range loss. They treat it like a single problem with a single cause. Battery degraded, range dropped. That's it. The reality is more layered. Yes, batteries lose capacity over time, on average roughly 1.5% to 2% per year under normal conditions. That's real and it's gradual, but that number doesn't account for the efficiency losses that come from how you use the car every single day. Your EV's real-world range isn't just a function of how much energy is stored in the pack. It's a function of how much energy you waste getting from point A to point B. And waste is where habits come in. Aerodynamic drag, rolling resistance, thermal load, and charging stress. These aren't abstract engineering terms. They're the direct output of decisions you make behind the wheel, at the charger, and in the driveway. Each one on its own shaves off a few miles. All of them together, repeated daily, create the kind of range loss that makes you think your car is getting old when really your habits are just working against you. Here are the 5 that matter most. Number 5. Driving aggressively too often. This one is one of the most straight and the most underestimated. When you floor the accelerator from a stop, the motor pulls a massive surge of current from the battery. That spike of energy draw doesn't use more power. It generates heat inside the pack, and heat repeated consistently over time is one of the few things that genuinely accelerates battery degradation even when nothing is technically wrong. Hard acceleration also eliminates most of the advantage that regenerative braking gives you. If you're braking hard because you accelerated hard, you're recovering a fraction of the energy you burned getting up to speed. The math never works in your favor. The efficiency gap between aggressive and smooth driving in an EV is bigger than most people expect. Independent real-world tests have shown that driving style alone can shift consumption by 20 to 30%. That's not a rounding error. On a 300-mile car, that's 60 to 90 miles of range sitting on the table or being left on the road, depending on how you drive. The fix isn't driving slowly, it's driving smoothly. Gradual acceleration, anticipating traffic so you can roll off the throttle instead of braking hard, and use the car's regen system the way it was designed to be used. In stop and start city traffic, especially switching to a higher regen setting, or enabling one-pedal driving if your car supports it, means you're recovering usable energy on every deceleration instead of burning it off as wasted momentum. Your range improves, your brake pads last longer, and your battery runs cooler over time, which directly slows the degradation curve. Aggressive driving doesn't just cost you range today, it costs you capacity tomorrow. Number 4. Driving at high speeds on highways. Speed is where physics stops caring about your range estimate. The relationship between speed and energy consumption in an EV isn't linear, it's exponential. The faster you go, the harder your car has to push through the air, and aerodynamic drag grows with the square of your speed. What that means in practice, driving at 80 miles per hour doesn't just use a little more energy than driving at 65 miles per hour. It uses significantly more. Estimates consistently put the range penalty at 20 to 30% for sustained high-speed highway driving. This is why your EV's range estimate, which is calculated at mixed speed conditions, gets shredded on a long highway drive. The EPA test cycle isn't designed around 80 miles per hour cruise control. Your real-world route often is. The fix isn't to crawl in the slow lane. It's to be deliberate about when speed actually matters. On a long highway trip, dropping your cruise control from 80 to 70 miles per hour can recover enough range to meaningfully change how many charging stops you need. A 10 mile per hour reduction in cruising speed can give you back 15 to 25 miles on a single charge, depending on the car. That's not a small number when you're planning a long-distance route. It's also worth thinking about what's attached to your car. Roof boxes, bike racks, cargo carriers that are useful on a trip but left on the car afterward are adding aerodynamic drag every single day they stay mounted. Remove them when you're not actively using them. The weight penalty is real, but the drag penalty on highway speeds is even more significant. A roof box that made sense on a camping trip is quietly costing you range on every commute for the next 2 weeks if you forget to take it off. Use cruise control where conditions allow. Hold a steady speed rather than consistently accelerating and backing off. And routes where you're not in a hurry. Let the car do what it was built to do efficiently, which is not cut through the air at 85 miles per hour for 3 hours straight. Number 3. Ignoring tire pressure. This is the most overlooked item on this list, and it's also the easiest to fix. Underinflated tires create more contact with the road surface than they should. That extra contact is rolling resistance, and rolling resistance means your motor has to work harder to move the car at the same speed. More work means more energy consumed. More energy consumed means less range. The effect is consistent and cumulative. A tire running 5 to 6 psi below the recommended pressure can increase rolling resistance enough to reduce efficiency by several percentage points. That doesn't sound like much until you realize it's happening on every trip, every day, adding up to real range loss across the life of the car. What makes this habit particularly costly is that it's invisible. Your car probably doesn't warn you until the pressure is significantly low, and most drivers don't check tire pressure regularly. They wait for the warning light, which in many vehicles doesn't trigger until you're already well below the optimal range. The fix is a 5-minute check, once a month. Match the pressure to the manufacturer's recommended spec, not the max pressure printed on the tire sidewall, but the figure in your door jamb or owner's manual. That number was chosen specifically to balance efficiency, range, and handling for your vehicle. Correct tire pressure also improves handling and extends tire life. It's the lowest effort, highest return habit on this entire list. Before we continue, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Number 2. Overusing climate control. Heating and cooling your cabin doesn't come free. It comes directly out of your battery. In a gas car, the heater is essentially free. It uses waste heat from the engine that would otherwise be dumped into the air. An EV has no engine producing waste heat. Your cabin heater is pulling power directly from the pack. And in cold weather, that draw can be substantial. Some EVs see 20 to 30% range reductions in winter conditions, driving primarily by heating demand rather than cold-related battery chemistry changes. Cooling is less aggressive on range than heating, but it still adds up on long drives in extreme heat, especially when you're running the AC hard to compensate for a sun-heated cabin. The solution isn't suffering through temperature extremes. It's preconditioning. Most modern EVs let you preheat or pre-cool the cabin while the car is still plugged in at home. That process uses grid power, not battery power. So you start your drive with a comfortable temperature and a full charge, having spent none of your range getting there. It's one of the most underused features in EVs, and it makes a measurable difference on cold winter mornings when you'd otherwise spend the first 15 miles heating the cabin on battery power. Beyond preconditioning, use seat heaters and steering wheel heaters instead of cranking the cabin temperature. These heat you directly rather than heating the entire interior, and they consume a fraction of the energy. Set the climate system for a comfortable level rather than maxing it out. And on shorter trips where the temperature isn't extreme, turn it off entirely. Climate control is one of the few areas where small, consistent behavioral changes translates to consistent daily range gains. And at number 1, poor charging habits. This one sits at number 1 because it's the habit most people actively think they're doing right and often aren't. The most common charging mistakes are charging to 100% regularly and using DC fast charging more than necessary. Charging to 100% keeps the battery at maximum voltage for extended periods. Lithium-ion cells experience more stress at the top and bottom of their charge range, which is why most EV manufacturers recommend staying between 20 and 80% for daily use. The difference in long-term battery health between consistently charging to 80% versus 100% is real and documented. It doesn't show up immediately, but over years of daily charging, the cells that spend more time at peak voltage degrade faster. DC fast charging is a similar story. Modern packs are engineered to handle it, and occasionally fast charging won't ruin your battery. But relying on it as your primary charging method when a level 2 home charger is available adds thermal stress to the pack that accumulates over time. Fast charging pushes current into the cells quickly, which generates heat. The more heat events your battery experiences across its lifetime, the faster the degradation curve moves. The practical approach? Charge at home overnight on a level 2 charger. Set your charge limit to 80% for daily driving and only push to 100% before a long trip where you'll actually need the full range. Reserve fast charging for road trips and situations where you genuinely need a quick top-up, not as a daily routine. These habits don't prevent you from using your car. They extend how well it performs over the years you own it. The smart way to maintain your range. None of these fixes requires a new car, a software update, or a trip to the service center. They require adjusting how you use the car you already have. Smooth driving over aggressive acceleration preserves both your daily efficiency and your long-term battery health. Moderating highway speeds gives you back miles that aerodynamic drag is currently taking. Checking tire pressure monthly eliminates a constant, invisible drain on your efficiency. Smart climate control use, preconditioning while plugged in, using seat heaters instead of cabin heat, protects your range on trips where temperature matters most. In disciplined charging habits, staying in the 20 to 80 window and relying on level 2 over fast charging where possible directly slow the degradation that eventually becomes permanent range loss. None of these are dramatic changes. That's actually the point. The habits that cost you range are small, repeated, and easy to miss. The habits that protect it are equally small. They just work in your favor instead of against you. Your EV's range isn't fixed. It's a result, and most of what produces that result is in your hands every time you drive. Range loss isn't always your battery giving up. More often, it's the car responding exactly as it should to how it's being used, and returning less because it's being asked to work harder, run hotter, or fight more resistance than it needs to. 5 habits, 5 adjustments, and the difference compounded over years of ownership is the gap between an EV that feels like it aged well and one that feels like it let you down. Drop a comment below. Which of these habits do you think costs EV owners the most range? And if there's a range-related topic you want covered, let me know. Hit subscribe for more EV content that gets straight to what actually matters.